Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are here giving you 1 hour of mortgage and real estate talk. I'm Harvey Freed. He's Harry Glanz.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mike Stone. Good morning, Matt Bush. Good morning, Lisa Lawson. How's everybody doing today? And we got a jam-packed show. I've got a lot to go over. We've got to dispel the myth that mortgage rates are at all-time lows, because they're not. Forget about all-time lows. They're not even at annual lows. They went up, everybody, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of when you're in the mortgage process of what not to do.
Another reminder.
Yeah, another reminder. And we're also going to talk about really the myth of what's going on in the home buying market. It's still very, very strong. We're going to talk about supply and demand and take us right into Lisa Lawson.
Hey, Lisa. Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
All right. Lisa's always here to give us some great information. And you've been doing everything, Lisa. You've been doing open houses. You did the bridal show.
Yes.
Folks are buying houses, that's for sure.
Yes, they absolutely are. And people are selling houses. I think in the past 6 weeks I've counted, I've done, I believe, 9 open houses.
So, Lisa,
I did one on Tuesday night.
Let's bring in Matt Bush here.
We brought in Matt Bush from RE/MAX.
Yes.
Here's the situation. Everybody out there thinks that there's a lull in the market, that there are things out there that are preventing people from buying homes, that there are more houses on the market now, which may or may not be true. I'm gonna go the opposite on that. But people are out there in droves looking at houses. Matt Bush, go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely coming back. We had a lot of withdrawals from the market for listings this winter. It was, I don't know, it seemed like it was incredibly harsh the winter. It seemed like we were living on Hoth for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time I wanted to host an open house, it would snow. And there's nothing that repels a buyer more than snow.
But they took them off the market, not because they weren't selling. They took them off the market because it was weather-related.
Well, a little bit of both. Like I had a 2x2 condo in Macomb Township this winter that had we gone to market in July, it would have been sold in 24 hours. But it took some extra time because the people that were probably going to buy that condo were already wintering in Florida. So there's a little bit of everything to it. I think snow is the biggest repellent, but we've had snow break for about a month now, and I feel like the buyers are out. Get a little stir crazy when you sit in your house for so long. You can only, clean the cabinets so many times. It's time to get out there and, maybe you don't like your husband that much anymore because you've been stuck in a house with him for 4 years. You got to find another room.
Definitely hearing these lower interest rates. It felt as if we started advertising and people are out there spreading the word that, hey, these rates are jumping over that bridge of getting over or under 6%. And that was maybe a roadblock there. And now they've bumped up a little bit. But let's go there, Harry. They got a new Fed funds chairman coming in a month or two. There is a war going on right now. So we've got some geopolitical events that can prevent rates from dipping back into those fives. Again, if you want the fives here, I think if you pay a couple points, you can still get it.
Well, the long story is that there's a lot of things that go into what mortgage rates do on a daily basis and even on an intra-day basis. They might have ticked down for a little bit, so then all of a sudden when they go down, everybody in the mortgage industry and real estate industry said rates are down, rates are down, rates are down. If you don't step on it right at that point in time, rates go up. And now rates, if anybody did not lock in 10 days ago, a week ago, they are not getting that perceived lower rate.
Correct.
Because if you did not lock it in, it's gone. Again, the analogy is if there's a stock out there that you were looking at and it's $10 and it's at a low and it's at $10 a share, if you didn't buy it that day, today it's up to about $12.50. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can't go back. You can't call up Lisa Lawson and say, hey, Lisa, remember last week when you called me when the rate was X? I want that rate. Lisa can't get that rate anymore because it's gone. And that holds true with every mortgage lender out there. So that's universal. But, when you talk about rates and when you read something in the newspaper, it's over. It's done.
It's old news.
Okay? It's already old news, Lisa. And you work with a lot of buyers, and you have buyers by the droves calling you. And we also go ahead and we call our clients up when we believe there's an opportunity to save them money. So, Lisa, they're not going to get the rate that was there 10 days ago.
No. And I've had clients call back like 4 days later, 5 days later, and they said, okay, I talked about it, him to hot, and now we're ready. And I was like, well, unfortunately, we have to wait for that to come back around. And I can't tell you when that'll be. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be later this month. Maybe it'll be next month, but it might not even be this year. So some people have this idea, and I hate to say sometimes good enough is good enough, but I had this person, they're holding out for an 8. They're like, I really think I can get another 8. And I kept telling them, I doubt it. You know what I mean? Like, this is a great opportunity. We're saving hundreds of dollars. We really need to pull the trigger. And they're like, nope, I'm going to wait see if I can get another eighth. I'm like, do you want to buy it down an eighth? Crunch those numbers. Nope, he didn't want to do that. Well, now they've gone the other way.
Yeah, that word really bothers me.
Yeah.
You know that word, wait?
Yes.
We're waiting. What are we waiting for?
Well, that's what. So now they're going to pay months and months of this
More money.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're going to pay more now
Correct.
because they're waiting. Now,
Correct.
do I believe there are certain opportunities in real estate, Matt, where people should wait? If you're not in the game right now, it might be too late for you in March, in April, maybe into May. But again, let's go the other side of the coin because I like playing both sides. I really do. Maybe if they wait, more inventory is going to come on the market. What do you think about that?
I think it's happening. I feel like there's already a bubble kind of brewing. I've already had 5 or 6 seller consultations that are just, hey, what should we do? When should we do this? How should we be prepared? I think sellers are getting a little bit smarter now. 4 or 5 years ago, you could just put a house on the market, put a for sale sign, have a line of buyers, offers, all that stuff. The last couple of years, it hasn't been quite as throwing, dynamite into the pond to get everything you want. So I think buyers are or sellers rather, are kind of going back to doing the little touch-ups that are necessary to really make their house shine. People are kind of getting wedged out of that 3-bed, 1-bath, 800 square foot house that they bought in 2019, 2020, 22. You can only raise, so many kids in a house that small. This isn't the 50s anymore. You need some space. So those people are beginning to turn over. Granted, they've got $150,000 in equity, luckily.
Yeah.
Right. But they've got to go to the next space. And if you're trading from a house in Berkeley that you bought for $150, now you're selling for $400, right? You still want to go to a place in Birmingham, Troy, whatever, but that's going to be a $500-$600, right? So you expect to have the nice finishes that you've updated your Berkeley house for.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to do this all over again. Now you've got kids.
They've done it once.
Yeah, they've done it once, and granted they're going to roll a decent amount of equity. They're going to move their life, but they don't want to have to do this all over again. Pick out cabinets. They remember what kind of a headache it was to knock that wall down, to put in that new kitchen.
So
Another
that begs
family's
the
growing. They got
question.
other priorities.
So, guys, I have a question for the table here. I mean, that begs the question, and you're the realtor in the room. I do have a lot of equity in my house, and I want to move. All right? And I'm going to sell my house. I'm just giving an example. So people are going to sell their house, and they're going to make a lot of money compared to what they bought it for some years ago. Where am I going to move? Where am I going where I can get equal value? In other words, the amenities, everything I have in my existing house, if I'm looking to go somewhere, where am I going to go for a relatively equal price point? And I just don't see that, Matt.
Yeah, no, that
not
is
happening.
That is definitely, the new conundrum we're at is how do I both upgrade everything, right? But it's kind of like when you're buying your first house, you think, hey, I'm going to buy a house and everything's going to be done. Well, that's just not going to be the case. You're buying an entry-level starter house, so you've got to imagine painting the walls, maybe being adjacent to the community you thought you were going to be into. And it's the same thing with this trade-up is maybe you're not going to be, in downtown Clarkston. Maybe you're going to have to be 5-10 minutes away. Maybe you're going to have to walk or drive to the Union Wood Shop instead of walk to, to Honcho's Tacos. So it's just a matter of what are we trading for where we want to be and what we want to do. And that's just kind of the whole thing it's been this whole time. It's just now that you feel like you've made it, you really kind of haven't. You still got to do a little bit of work to make it what you want it to be.
Yeah.
I like those analogies you put
But
together.
there's still opportunities. I don't want people to think that, I shouldn't even bother looking because it's going to be more difficult. Yeah, sometimes, everything worth effort is worth waiting for to get what you want. And there's definitely great homes out there and opportunities to upgrade and get the space that you need. And when you're talking about rolling over equities, usually when people are buying homes, like you're talking about, we'll say 2020, they're not putting 20% down. People back then didn't have the money. You're rolling over all of that equity, plus you're using that equity and putting 20% down. You have no PMI. So yes, there's some give and takes, but we definitely work it out. You just have to be slightly more patient than I think people might think going in to find that right property.
Family that's selling that $400,000 or $500,000 house, if they're moving $8, $9, or close to $1 million. Again, like you said, they might move to a location that costs a lot more. The house might be a lot bigger, but it hasn't been updated.
Sure.
And now their eyes are rolling back, and they even need more money to do that. But these are what the challenges are out there. So when you do see that house that's at $750,000, $800,000, your family, you want to be in that community, whatever it is, an upgrade. Maybe it's Grosse Pointe, maybe it's Birmingham. A lot of times you might have to put some money into that house. It's something to definitely consider.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys talk about loan products that might fit that because that's definitely not a real estate thing, but it's my job to kind of sell the vision and show what it can be. Hey, yeah, this kitchen hasn't been updated since the 70s. It still has the coil burners in the stove, and the fridge looks like it's seen better days. But hey, here's a list of contracts you can talk to. Ask your lender about maybe some of these loan products that they're better versed on, and they can kind of walk you through it. Maybe we roll over most of the equity, but we put a little pot aside, and we do this room, then we do this room, then we do this room. If we time it right, if we can get 30, 60 days after close, maybe you can get somebody in here the day you close to, knock out this cabinet, put some new kitchen or cabinets, put some new countertops in, and start the process. And then, hey, maybe the boys don't need their separate rooms from the jump street. Maybe they can share a room for a couple of weeks while you do that room, and then they move into that room. And
well, that's the way it should be done. You can't, look at back in the day. I'll play the old man card here. I'm the OG in the room. You bought a house and then you looked to improve it as you went along. You didn't buy a house. You had rooms that were unfurnished. You had living rooms and rooms that were you bought the house and then you added over time.
Correct.
You didn't buy the house and have everything moved in right away and everything was perfect. I mean, you kind of eased into that situation of buying things.
And unless you're buying new construction, and still that's not the case, you're not getting everything you want. There's still checklists on new construction houses, unless you're paying out the nose to literally have every upgrade and every improvement, and then you're still living in you're still driving through a construction zone every day out to and from homes.
There's certainly a lot of variables. I want to bring up, we talk about that. Once it hits the newspaper or the news wire or social media, it's already old news. Midwest housing market surge as demand for homes are faster than new listings. We've been telling people that, and they're talking about the spring market. Going into the spring market, there's less inventory now than what they thought they were going to be. Well, we've said that forever.
Yeah.
So if you're in the market right now, you have to be in the game, Matt. You can't just wait on the sidelines and jump into it, because everybody is going to be your competition. And when I say your competition, people are looking for homes. That's your competition.
But the thing to that is you've got to be prepared when you enter that arena, right? You can't just walk into that arena without a sword or a shield. You've got to make sure that A, you're protected, but B, you're prepared to battle is such a silly word, but you've got to be prepared to enter that arena. So if you are waiting, at least be doing the right things to prepare yourself.
And getting top dollar for your property.
Make the phone calls, see what's the best out there, whether you're buying or selling.
Right.
There's prep that can be done for both.
All right, keep it here.
Figure out loans
97.1 The
for you.
Ticket. We've got Matt Bush, Remax First. He's got lots to share with you. Lisa Lawson, here you go. I'm Harvey Freed. Again, you want to call us. Got some information if you're thinking about consolidating your debt, getting that strong approval letter, breaking down those numbers. We do it all for you. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All righty, we give you that stuff. 8:17 if you're just joining us. It's a little wintry out there, but another beautiful day coming
It's
up
St.
here.
Patrick's Day in Detroit.
That's
I've got
right.
green on.
That's
Hey,
right.
you look great. Yeah, St. Patty's Day parade is happening down I think down in Corktown. I think that's where
I
it
thought
is
that was
every year.
last
Did they
week, but
move it?
there's one Royal Oak. Should be somewhere right now.
A
Yeah.
lot of fun.
You're likely at if
No
you're listening.
shortage,
You're
no shortage of green beer.
A lot of great
Let's
stuff
go.
going out there. Hey, call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. Get that strong approval letter. Work with real professionals that get you set up for success. That's the key. Having that knowledge behind you and that confidence is really the way to go. Again, we are powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820 Equal Housing Lender. Definitely give us a call because we get you prepared like nobody gets you prepared. Again, reading through purchase agreements yesterday, and I had a interesting situation where they ended up switching title companies at the last second, but there's always moving parts in a transaction. One of the things happen here is we always do these reminders. And today we're going to hit some folks with a reminder is if you're in the middle of a transaction, that's
Yeah,
right.
If you're in the middle of a transaction, listen, don't go out and buy the furniture yet. Don't go and lease or buy a new car. All right, don't get obligated. Don't start running up your charge cards. And just because you're in the process doesn't mean it's over. There are several checks along the way. We pull credit along the way, maybe 2 or 3 times. We certainly do it at the end of the transaction. So if we pull your credit report and we see inquiries on your credit report from Ford Motor Credit or a department store or any type of thing that can be considered a debt, we're going to ask you about it. And then all of a sudden, if you've leased that new car or bought that new car with a new payment, we have to add that to your ratios. This is all a bunch of mortgage nerd talk. We have to add that to your ratio. And sometimes people don't qualify.
And that
Just
includes
don't-
co-signing. People don't realize you can't co-sign for your kid.
All
It's
right.
my kid's car. He's going to pay for it. That's not how that works.
When very large sums of money come in or go out of an account, during a transaction, we need to know about it. And by the way, it's all lenders. And I think we're doing a service for every lender out there telling people, don't do things during your transaction that could cause a lender to call you up and say, hey, did you lease 2 new cars? Did you buy that furniture? What did you do?
What about job hunting? Should I be job hunting?
You should not switch jobs. Yeah, that's a major one. You shouldn't switch jobs in the middle of a transaction either. You shouldn't go from a W-2 employee all of a sudden to self-employed in the middle of your transaction.
Or 1099.
All right,
yeah.
Exactly. So there are certain do's and don'ts, Harvey, and we talk about it all the time.
Go to
And
straight
what ends up
commission.
happening, Lisa, is that we have these conversations in the office. They come up, and we have people that they want to blame the lender. It's everybody wants to blame the lender in this case. Well, what do you mean? The answer is, well, what do you mean they did this? Well, yeah, we need to know about it. So just please stop doing those things, Harvey, in the middle of the transaction.
Right, we call it sabotaging your own transaction. Don't do things that you don't need to do. Go ahead, Matt.
Let's say that I have an hourly job.
Yes.
But I want to buy a house. I want to put a bigger down payment, so I'm going to start taking a bunch of overtime. How should that figure in?
No,
It depends how long you've had overtime.
No,
So you can use
you
overtime.
can do that. That's perfect.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to use overtime to qualify you for your ratios, but you can use the overtime 100% to save money to down payment.
Yeah.
So same thing. I tell people all the time, I'm going to work overtime. I haven't, I got the opportunity. My company got this bid. It's going to be 9 months of overtime. Dude, work it till you can't, till your fingers fall off. Yes. All the money you've saved absolutely can be used. Now, will they use the overtime to qualify for the loan? No, you haven't had it long enough.
Yeah, you
But-
have to have it. So Lisa's the
1
queen
year,
at
depending, or 2 years,
qualification.
yeah.
She's the credit queen and the qualifying queen, all right? She'll tell you need to have a history of overtime. So you just
History
can't
of
have gone.
commission, history of bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
depending
what
on
you're
the
saying
loan
is I
type.
can't just go on an overtime binge, think that's going to bump up my numbers. I can now get a better house.
doesn't work that
And now
way,
I can
right?
Or my
stop the overtime
favorite,
once I'm done.
all the
Yeah.
time. I have an opportunity to a second part-time job, and never worked a part-time job before. You've got your full-time job, regular job, and then you're going to work, hustle on the weekends, slinging coffee at Starbucks, and that's great. You can absolutely use all that money towards down payment or pay off your debts or whatever your scenario is, but you cannot use that
To qualify.
second part-time job to qualify because you've not worked a part-time job for a long enough history.
Again, the minimum 2 years on the part-time job, and then we could use that income. And if you stay at the same place, it looks even better. Man, let's roll into something else. As we get these calls all the time, and we set up a lot of clients for success. They're looking at let's just use a $400,000 or $500,000 house, and they're prepared to put 20% down. But the house they find needs all those repairs that we were talking about earlier. It doesn't have the updated kitchen, the bathroom. It needs all new floors. and the hardscape outside, meaning your decks. And there's a lot of gorgeous houses out there, but they haven't been touched in 25 years. So again, we're always making these changes, and having a professional like you, when you walk in a house, I mean, you guys are smart, Matt. You obviously can look at the kitchen, you look at your buyer, and you guys together look at the same time and say, it's not an updated kitchen.
Yeah,
you know it.
A lot of black countertops still out there. You know, I saw a split level that looked
When
like.
was that ever a thing?
Wait, the granite's
I mean,
okay
it
though?
really
I hope,
is.
Yeah, the
because,
black, it's the black granite countertops
Okay.
with that like it almost looks like a
that little fleck.
the gold fleck.
The gold fleck in the middle, and it's
Had
always
that
the
in one of my
pale. It's always
houses.
the pale brown counter or cabinets with it. It's almost like the inverse of a Reese's peanut butter cup.
I thought they were coming back. I thought that stuff was coming back.
I mean, I
yo.
saw a split level yesterday in North Rosedale Park that looked like it was still lived in by like Mr. T. Like
Yeah.
I was unbuttoning the top of my shirt just to look like I fit in that shirt in that
flexing.
place. Yeah,
So, man,
the
we
80s.
still get people, and I had this conversation last night with a group. Should we put 20% down? And the answer to the question is, it depends. Now, if you run into a situation like that, I would put 10% down and use the other 40,000 to go ahead and update the house. So if you're looking at that house, if you're looking at a $400,000 house, using that example, 20% down would be 80,000. Why do that? Why not keep some of that cash and go ahead and do the updates?
So yeah, I'm wholly in your corner on that, and I would maybe even bring it down to 5, but that's just from
Right.
my side.
3 to
Because
5.
What's going to make it shine on the other side? And then after we do the work, can I then refinance it and bring my payment back into? Can I get some of my renovation money back? Does the neighborhood support me buying a $400,000
Right.
house, putting $100,000 in it, and then having
Yeah.
a $500,000-$600,000 on the other side?
Right.
But we're also talking about lifestyle, right? You lived in Berkeley, you just had 2 kids, and now you need to move to Troy, but you've got to put $100,000 in. What am I going to do with my toddlers as I renovate, a 2,500 square foot house in Troy? Can I physically handle that without putting my head through the wall instead of just a hammer?
Yeah.
And it's literally a lifestyle thing, and we've got to figure out what's best. And I would maybe even say, hey, let's say our budget's 50,000 or 500,000, right? Can we go to 550 and get everything done
And not
as
need to
opposed to
renovate.
buying it for 450 or 480? And now we've got a 1 to 2 year program. We're now paying out of pocket as opposed to finishing the updates and making your life all easy. What is that headache worth to you and the family? Like, can you make sure you still get the kids to swimming or soccer while you're managing the 5 contractors that are coming and going in your house?
Well, that's always a question. Can
he's
you
right.
live through that renovation?
And sometimes going a little higher in a price point means you might not even need renovations, and you got a move-in ready property. You know what I mean?
Or it's just you're doing the smaller
The
rentals,
smaller
right?
things, yeah.
You're refinishing the floors, which you can do in a week before you move in, right? You're kind of switching out light fixtures. I don't need all the, I don't know if I can say the word, the sort of lights that hang that just droop in the middle of every light, right? Can I swap out the ceiling fans like that and really like charm up? Can I get the wallpaper off and sand, mud, and paint? Stuff that can be done in a week.
You could be a weekend
weekend.
warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, maybe you can do that between closing on the house that you're in, moving into the house you're done, and now you spent a couple of weekends, you've gotten your 30 days post-closing, you've used your money wisely, and now you can just transition easily into the house as opposed to, wearing a hard hat every day.
It's one of those things. I'll buy, not all buyers are the same. We're just completely different. And again, one buyer I run into, and he'd say, "Hey, Harvey, I could fix anything in a house. I got a cousin like that. He can replace the toilet, do the basic plumbing, do electrical. Again, should be pulling permits. But a lot of folks are handy and have this qualification where they can fix up a house. It's different. Every buyer's different,
And
Matt.
good for them. But the
Yeah.
thing is, there's an opportunity cost, right? It's great that you're handy, but is that going to take you away from helping your kid in school here? Is it going to disrupt your family life over here? Like, that's great that you can do all these things, but is it going to take away from the other things that you have to do in life? Like, do I have to not go into a shift at work because I opened up the electrical panel and now I can't put it together again, or can't leave until I put it together again? And now, there's an extra worm, so there's another hour and a half to do. It's just, there's so many different things that
It's only so much time, right?
Yeah.
Handle these things. All right, let's roll on to that same conversation, man. I just want to extend it a little more. So I get a lot of calls, obviously, about folks that want to become investors. Hey, I got to dip my hands in this. I need to definitely move some money around. Everything's in the stock market, and I want to get a piece of real estate. I want to buy. Is that up? A quick break? Okay, let's
We'll
keep
have to hit that next.
That
We'll have
was
to
the
hit after the
quickest
commercial.
segment ever. Okay, so let's keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Christopher, stay on the line. When we come back, we'll go to your call and all the others. All righty, welcome back to the show. We do take your calls, 248-539-9797. Let's roll off to Christopher out in Fowlerville. Hey, Chris, thanks for calling the show. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, just talk to you guys again. I talked to you last week, and my wife and I, in that time, have been looking at a couple of houses. We stumbled on one in the area where we want to be, but upon getting there, house is listed at $390, just dropped $10,000. It's been on the market 41 days, and I see why. It was under contract previously, but there's quite a bit of remod that would need to happen to even make it livable. You know, pet soil carpet, fascia on the exterior of the buildings, you know, in disrepair. Lots of things that I'm looking at this, and I want to know in the current market, are we handcuffed to, you know, what these prices are at, or I mean, can I encourage my realtor to offer something? You know, I don't want to be disrespectful in offering it, but as a contractor, I'm looking to offer almost, you know, $80,000-$90,000 under ask, strictly to do that. I mean, you know, windows, doors, things that are causing leaks in the home. It's a place where I want to be, and I have the skill set to facilitate it. Comps are in high fours, low fives as far as where they're at. I just want to know what options do I have? Can I offer something that low, or is that just out of the realm of possibility?
It's a great question. Matt, I'll let you answer that first, and I'm going to dive into.
Yeah, so I guess my initial thoughts is if you're looking in the high threes, but the comps are in the high fours, perhaps they've kind of priced some of what you're looking into it. You know, 40 days on market is kind of pushing it. You know, it's been a while. I don't know if I would go quite as steep of asking for a discount as you would be, especially up front. My 2 cents is I don't know what the seller knows about the house. You know, they've already been under contract. They likely went through an inspection, and maybe they don't want to do it again. So my 2 cents is try to find a number at which it'd be amicable. But my biggest concern, and I ran into this with another client, is we bid too low on the house to where we didn't even get a seller's counter. And then basically you're then bidding against yourself all the way up until where the seller wants to be. So my 2 cents was I would have your realtor kind of reach out to the other realtor, see what needs to be done from the seller's perspective, and find a number at which you can at least get a counter. Because if you don't get a counter, then you're just going to be blindly bidding 3 or 4 times, and then you're going to get to a point where if anything needs to be done post-inspection, like that you know of and that they know of, obviously, they're just going to be stuck in the mud, and you're going to kind of have a contentious relationship. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I would be aggressive. I don't know if I would be as aggressive as you're looking to be. That's just my. It
kind of sounds like they've priced it too somewhat aggressively, right? If you're saying it was worth $5 and it's on the market for $390, that's usually part of that is taken into consideration, isn't it? Like, some degree.
So I guess that's why I would have your agent figure out from the seller's agent, hey, what does your seller think needs to be done to the house? And that's why did you price it this way? And then if you know about additional work that needs to be done, and say, hey, this is why I'm offering because of X, Y, and Z, that's going to hold a little bit more weight. And if you hold it, because if you can get them under contract, you're going to have them by the short hairs, because they don't want to go under contract, in and out of contract, again and again and again.
It's not a good look, that's for sure.
Right? Because it's just going to look worse to the next guy that comes along and writes him an offer and all that stuff. So, without seeing the house, and obviously we don't work together, so I don't kind of know all the circumstances. I wouldn't go maybe $90,000 short, but I think you have some room, some landing room.
Chris, how much money are you working with to put down on this house?
$150,000.
You got a lot of money you're working with, so I sort of like the idea with all these repairs that what Matt's telling you is this is a better communication type thing, is where your agent's working with that listing agent, say, look, the facts are the facts. You've already walked away from one purchase. You've got an inspection done. And I like where you went with that, Matt, is like, what do you think needs to be done to the house? So sort of working in an offer that also has some seller's concessions, but he's got a lot of money. So really his idea is, can I get it for $379 or $369? Like Matt said, chopping their legs off at $320 or something like that, $80,000
They're
off.
Going to ignore you.
You're
they won't
far
respond.
away.
Because you're
going $379, $369. I wonder if there's a deal there.
Yeah, even into the 350s, honestly. But like if you come in at like 3, for instance, they're going to think that you're just a flipper that's just trying to take all their equity and run with it, right? So there's got to be, and what I would do is I would maybe ask your agent to ask their agent if the seller's disclosures have been updated since the last inspection.
That's interesting.
Right?
Also, does it have well and septic, Chris?
It does.
And that's what I'm thinking. Any word on that, or how old are those systems?
so I don't have any word on the well and septic. So I would definitely want to have those inspected. Or
They've already been inspected.
Yeah,
I would call the
just
listing
like
agent and say,
that.
give us the well and septic report. It's already been inspected.
Yeah. And Christopher, I
Here's where
want
the
to
problem is.
address one part of the question that you asked. I want Matt to address this for you. When I heard that you don't want to either insult them or put them off or whatever, this is a business transaction. The house has been on the market for 41 days. You certainly don't want to go in at $200,000, but there's no insulting people. They're not going to turn it away. All they can do is say no, which is you're in that position right now. You don't have the house. All they can do is say no, and then you go back and you make another offer. So I'm not a big guy on saying to insult somebody. This isn't like you're not buying the house from your brother.
You don't like my shirt color.
Yeah, but
Right.
sometimes if you go in
Yeah.
so low, you get no response.
Yeah,
and
that-
and
that's
the
the
seller's
worst
like,
thing.
right. And I understand where Matt's coming from, and I
Yeah.
do think so. Like if someone came into my house and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you $400,000 for my house," I would be like, kick rocks. I would not respond, and I would be very insulted by that offer because I know what my house is worth.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it starts out the conversation on the wrong foot. So I completely agree with Matt and what he's saying.
So
Yeah,
I guess my 2 cents would be
It's a negotiation. You want to
Yeah.
start. Where people are willing to negotiate. You don't want to start putting them off.
And that's why I want to know
Yeah.
if I'm your agent and I'm talking to a listing agent, I'm trying to figure out what the seller thinks needs to be done to the house.
Yes, that's a
that
great
way.
idea.
If you know something different, or what do they know?
Right.
Like, what do they plan that the buyers? Go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're in a position right now. So one of the things that I wanted to clarify as well, a lot of the rework are things that were what I assume to be unpermitted work that's been likely done by the seller that would unfortunately have to be redone. They put a deck on in 2020, which reads great on the report. However, from my perspective as a builder, I'm looking at this, realizing that this Trex deck that they built in 2020 likely has to be torn down because it's against code. They've remodeled a basement, but unfortunately done so in a way that includes lots of electrical issues, lots of rework. And one of the things that I want to clarify too is that there are comps in the high fours and low fives. This house and several other houses in there are largely in disrepair, but their closest comps are actually closer to the low fours. So I think that even still where they're at, they're priced high. I was tentatively looking to come in right around 320, 325 and see what bit. Likely what I'd intend to do is, I would not have this contingent on the sale of my house that I'm in currently. I would likely, if coming in that low, I'd waive inspection as far as...
No.
Well, he's a builder.
I
He's a
know,
builder.
but
It
still
doesn't
no.
matter.
I guess.
That well and septic is probably toast. If it's a
Right.
25
but also just get a
plus year old
sober
house,
set of eyes.
something.
Get a sober set of eyes on the house. You have another protection. Yeah, the paying that $300 to $400 for an inspection is going to be that's the best insurance policy you're ever going to make.
Plus, it's your opportunity to renegotiate.
Well, yeah,
too,
or
if
at
something
least
is
bring
wrong.
things back to the seller. Hey,
Right.
like
If
I don't
something's
know.
wrong.
My 2 cents is
Chris is like at 320. Look, I can review anything, so I like
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't do it.
I
would
wouldn't
never
either.
waive an
Even if you're a
inspection.
builder.
where I'm
Yeah.
at.
Say that again, Chris.
Right.
What'd you say?
And the way that I look at that is if I put in the money that I feel that I need at 320, plus the money that I have, to put down for the property, I feel super confident that, with the ability that I have to put money into the house, that I know in those comps that are in the high fours, low fives, that I still have, justifiable room to make money even for those unforeseens with a well and septic. Well and septic, unfortunately, I'm looking between, if it's just the well or just the septic, I'm looking about $25,000. Between the two, I'm looking at 40.
Right,
I still
50.
have room should I come into those later.
yeah.
Chris, what location is it? What city? Just curious.
Fowlerville.
It's in Heartland.
Heartland, the house in Heartland. Great area.
I was just there.
Heartland and Brighton. So exactly the area that my wife and I want to be in. And largely, it supports enough, for the growth of our family. So we intend on staying there when we belong.
Hey, Chris, you're breaking up a little bit. I love your call. We got your number. Thank you for calling in. It helps so many families, and it leads us to more conversations. I love our educated clients that give us a call. Sure. He's a builder. He's like, look, at the right price, Harvey, I like this place. I like that Heartland High School, that's for sure. If you're into sports, send your kids over there. So, again, location is key. So this is a smart guy. This is a smart buyer, and he's qualified to do a lot of work.
I guess my thought would be, again, we've got to figure out what this seller knows and doesn't know. Like, are they hiding something, right? Maybe if they've done an inspection, maybe they have more information on the condition of the house that they haven't necessarily disclosed. Maybe a good conversation between agents, we can get that disclosed and, hey, what's going on here? If
Yeah.
we can find a number at which we can
Make it make
move
sense.
forward,
Yeah.
you know, like, hey, maybe 350, 360 is the number, but, you know, we find something major on the inspection that they've clearly hidden. Hey,
This leads me
Yeah.
to some really
Hey, you
interesting
know-
conversation. So we got a lot of people out there who want to diversify their portfolio and buy rental homes and investments area.
Because it's easy, Harvey.
It
because
sounds so easy.
Because it's easy.
Yeah, you better be a handyman, all right, if you want
We
to
got to
fix
talk
up that.
about that right now. We got the right guy in here, Matt Bush, to talk about that.
All right, 842. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business. You're up against our third break. When we come back, 248-539-9797. All your calls. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show 847. If you're just joining us or sports following us all day long on 97.1 The Ticket, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Giving you some great information in our 26th year, trying to help you save money if you're buying a house. Setting you up for success is what we do. Matt Bush, of course, from RE/MAX First joins us with all of his great information. And Matt, we always talk about that. The top 10% of the real estate agents, boy, I love working with that top 10%, and you know it because they automatically are starting to return phone calls, and the conversations
What
are
a
so
novel
different.
concept. People answer your phone calls.
That's so great.
Responds to a text message.
We
It's
talk
crazy.
about diversifying your portfolio. Boy, I never have met somebody that didn't say, man, I want to start buying some rentals here. And I always say to them, I'm like, are you handy? That's the first thing I always say, because I know handy people, and they can replace toilets and know how to do things and fix things. And if you're not that person, it's not like you're going to buy a rental property, Harry, and you're putting 10% down minimum. Most are 20% down on the DSCR loans. And they're not always money makers, especially if you dive into this not knowing what the most important thing about the property is, Harry. And I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, the most important part of that process for a debt service coverage ratio loan, which is geared for investors to put 20% down. The most important part is that house has to be rentable. And that goes to the condition of the property. There are loan property condition requirements, which means that you cannot rent on this type of loan transaction. It has to be rentable before you get somebody in there. So
let me ask you, what if there's a tenant already in? How does that work?
if a tenant's already in, you still have to go ahead and you have to have an appraisal of the property.
Sure, but is it considered rentable if it already has a tenant and a lease in place?
Not if their house is in disrepair. Just because somebody's in there doesn't mean the house doesn't need work. So if there are health and safety issues in that property right now and somebody's living in there, well, A, not a good thing. B, when we go ahead and do the loan and send the appraiser in there, the appraiser's going to cite it. So if the appraiser cites it and repairs need to be done, before you can close on that transaction, those repairs have to be completed. And we've had situations where investors want to come in, they want to buy these houses, first-time investors, their first rental property. And we go ahead and we find out all these things. And the way I look at it is we're protecting that investor, that buyer of that house, because they have to know that the seller of that house maybe neglected it. That's my word, nobody else's. Maybe it was neglected. But you have to have those things repaired before you go ahead and rent it. If somebody's already in it, Matt, then you need to go ahead and make sure that you're not covering up anything, that everything is in good working order, and that nobody's going to get tripped up, because you could have a lawsuit on your hand.
And I get calls all the time. You know, Boston, Miami,
Investors,
Seattle, because they look at our housing prices like, that's a weekend out, for me. I can buy a house in Detroit or Metro Detroit, right? And and you'll just send a contractor out there, and you're just gonna go and make sure the work's being done, and you're just gonna pay them with the money that I'm sending them. Like, then where's my 1099? Do I get paid from you to do all these things?
No,
they did. It's Yeah, I get it all. It's like a weird situation where people just think, Detroit's cheap. I'm gonna buy a house and just sit on it and yada yada yada.
A whole bunch of things that I've heard over the years, and one of them is why are you the lucky one? And I've used some of these things.
Thank
here.
you,
might have
Harry.
used
Appreciate
that. You
that.
might have stole that from you, Harry.
Yeah.
But again, it's all these great house flippers out there. All these great people that have bought and owned 4, 5, up to 10 rental properties, and all of a sudden you're brand new at this, and you dive in, and it's going to be your first rental, and you've got the offer accepted. I'd be like running right away.
Well,
how come no one else wants this house?
You have to start somewhere. All right, so you have to start somewhere. Nobody goes and buys 10 right away as their first. They enter in their first transaction, but you have to do your homework. It's much like what Christopher called in. You have to pull the neighborhood comps. You have to see what other properties of like your property, of the subject, are going to rent for. So it's nothing wrong with buying your first. Everybody has their first something. But if you're going to get into the investment world, Matt, you know this better than anybody. You have to do your homework, and you know that it's a full-time job. It can't be a passing fancy. No. It has to be a full-time job. You do your homework on it. You get renters in there, and then you're subservient to those renters.
Yeah.
Because houses, inevitably, something goes wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, being a landlord is a full-time job. You are changing furnace filters, you're fixing leaks, you're calling the city, you're passing inspections, you're doing the repairs that the inspections need. You're constantly at least driving by it once a week, if not a little
You're
bit more
going to get a
frequent.
call at 2:30 in the morning because the furnace went out, Matt. As sure as we're sitting here, right?
You might get a call from the neighbor because they don't, you made friends with the neighbors, and then the tenant might have had a birthday party and it was too loud, and now the neighbor's calling you at 2:00 in the morning. He's like, why are your tenants so loud? It might be a nuisance call from the local PD. Hey, we had to make a call that you're the renter, or you're the landlord. We're issuing you a ticket. I got a misdemeanor violation in St. Clair Shores because they didn't send me a rental obligation or a rental certification. I'm like, here's my check, here's everything. I'm like, we've already done this. You lost the paperwork. Don't try to come arrest me because you guys got the paperwork lost.
So, Lisa, when you do these investment property purchase transactions as DSCR loans, the requirements for these loans are different than if it were a primary residence.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more lenient on a primary than it is an investor property because it's not your primary residence and you're renting it out. So the standards are much higher.
Well, it depends what you're talking about leniency wise. Are you talking about
property?
The property itself?
Yeah.
Yes, it has to be move-in ready. You can't have, major issues. But if you're talking about the loan, it's a much easier loan to qualify
that part
for.
Is, yes.
That's what I was asking. I wanted to clarify. It's much easier to qualify for a DSCR if you're buying investment properties because you only have to make sure that the money coming in, the potential rent coming in, is covering the payment. And depending on how much money you're putting down your credit score, because sometimes that's all you need to do. But yes, if you're talking about the property itself, you can't be buying a fixer-upper thinking I'm going to renovate it and spend 90 days or 120 days getting all this done, then I'm going to become, a landlord. It doesn't work that way.
It's
not on a DSCR.
It's all about
Rent
the condition
roll.
of the property, and that is the primary concern on these investor transactions. What is the condition of the property? And you must fix it up before you close on the
and you're
transaction.
going to have to have lease. You're going to have lease and documentation that the tenant is paying these things too. It's not just, my friend gave me a check to hold and all that stuff. So it's an easier loan, but there are still, boxes to check. It's not a,
Well, it's an easy entry level, 20% down. Okay, so you rent it out for $2,000 a month and your payment's $1,800. They give you the loan. You're making $200 a month, guys.
But you're building equity.
Okay, $2,400 a year. Keep going, Lise. Give me the positives. Maybe I'll give you some negatives.
Because people do this. You're building equity in a property, right?
do it.
So you're developing an asset into your portfolio, and you're not paying the debt down. Somebody else is paying the debt. People get hung up on some numbers, but the investors make this work because they're not using their money to pay down their debt. So this is somebody else's money. And yes, you're still making $200. You're not paying the principal. And it's literally, as investors, I understand why they do it. I understand why people like you say it doesn't make sense. You're making $200. No, they're making more than that.
But also, it makes sense in certain areas.
Correct.
It makes sense in Royal Oak. It doesn't make sense in Jefferson Jones.
It's up to the thing is Harvey was doing the math with me in the office yesterday, and he looked at me and said, "Harry, for $200 a month, I'm not doing this. Too much of a hassle." Well, that's one way to think about it. Why would you do it for $200 a month?
Well, because in 5 years from now, you're going to sell that property and you're going to be sitting on a huge chunk of change.
Right. That's
Think
why
of it like a savings account.
And that's why it's called an investment property, because you're going to hold it.
Correct.
The buy and flip, we had Kevin on Cash for Homes on last week. He'll tell you about the buys and flips.
All about the numbers.
This isn't that situation. This is a situation where you're going to try to build a real estate portfolio, get in with your first investment property, get another one after that, maybe have 5 or 6 of them, and then wait 5 or 6 years and then try to sell them. That's exactly right. Or keep them. There are plenty of people that have kept investment properties for a very long time.
If you've got 10 or 12 houses that are all making $300-$400 a year or $400 a month, that's a great little side hustle. You're talking about, second jobs, $300-$400 on a rental house. Not a big
I think the point we want to make is that it's just not that easy. You really have to do your homework, and you really have to talk to an expert like you, Matt, on how to do it, because you've done several in your career. You still look at doing them. So
don't do a 99 online course and get a coach assigned to you and tell you everything you can do.
It's like I shouldn't go to WebMD and diagnose myself.
And don't pay for a sub 2 course. If you call me and your first words are sub 2, I'm hanging up the phone on you.
I don't even know what that one is. Matt Bush, Remax First. Always great to have you in here. If you're thinking about buying some real estate, definitely give us a call. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. We'll get you all approved. Set you up with these great real estate agents like Matt Bush and all the great agents we have on here. All right, that music says we got Stoney Kenny coming up, too. The gang's here to talk
Paul's
sports.
in. Look at Paul looking at everything.
Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll see you next Saturday.